Hello and welcome back to the Unlock Potential podcast. On this week's episode, we have Sorcha from Seed Mindset Coaching, and we spoke to her about how she transitioned from a corporate world to our mindset business and how she now works as a coach helping other people. If you're enjoying this podcast on whatever platform you're listening on, make sure to subscribe or give us a follow. Enjoy the episodes. Thanks so much for coming on, Sorcha.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here.
So the conversation that we literally just been having that wasn't being recorded, can we go back on all that?
Yeah, of course.
So what were we saying there about the testosterone going down for men?
Yeah.
What did Dan say? It's gone down by 50% in the last 50 years, is it? That is it. Yeah.
Crazy.
And what were you saying the reasons for that is now?
So again, I'm no expert in the area, but I know from the research I've done and what I've learned in terms of like masculine and feminine energy, the experiences that we go through now as women and the experiences that men go through are completely different to what they look like 20 years ago, 30, 100 years ago. And when we think about a woman's experience, say 100 years ago, she was in the home. She was operating from that level of care. She was the mother, she was the wife, she was the homemaker. And now when we look at the, typical experience of a woman, she's very much likely to be in a high performing job, or she also has a family that she's taking care of and she's in a partnership with someone. So with that then, when you're adding that lens of the homemaker, the mother into the corporate world as well, or owning a business, that in itself is going to have a completely different impact on their hormones, their chemicals within them, and the experiences that they're going through every day, because they've stepped away from just that typical caretaker, nurturing space into this, high achieving masculine energy. And with that, then women can become disconnected from their femininity, from their feminine energy. And that's something that I struggled with for a while and what I'm coming back into now.
Yeah, you were saying that, yeah. And how did you, it probably took you a while to realise that as well, that was going on, that was happening. How did you change that, So what did you do and, what did you do to change that,
Yeah, so when it comes to changing it, first you have to realise that there's a problem.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like I was always dominantly in my masculine since I was a child. I remember when I was younger that I was a tomboy. I was always hanging out with the lads. I always tried to be the cool one. And with that, I wouldn't be in with the girls as much. I was bullied a lot. So with that, I found it a little bit harder to connect with girls. So I was always hanging around with lads. And then fast forward a couple of years, say for example, obviously I have a beautiful group of girlfriends now, but when I was moving into the corporate world, when I was a little bit older, I still carried this masculine energy, this protector energy, where I felt like I had to protect myself. Yeah. So with that then, I had a chip on my shoulder where I believed that I had to work so much harder than everyone else in order to prove myself. Because when we are stuck in our masculine energy, we tie our worth to our productivity. So with that then, you're doing the 14-hour days, you're working on the weekends, and you are compromising your needs, your boundaries, and what you stand for in order to prove yourself and to other people.
Yeah.
So that's the experience that I definitely found myself in. And with that, when you are in the place where you're over masculine as a woman, you will be burnt out and you will have this low sense of self because you don't feel as though what you're doing is enough.
Yeah. So and going back to years, that's not what we were like. It's only more kind of recent now that women are more masculine and they're doing more and they're more higher achievers and stuff like that. Yeah. So going back, we started way ahead. But so you're a mindset coach. So how did you get into that? What made you do that?
Yes, I am a mindset coach. So for me, I truly feel as though I have always been a mindset coach in some way, shape or form since I was a kid. When I was younger, I was always the person that my friends came to for support. And I had so much joy and fulfillment from helping people to draw the light out of themselves and to see themselves how I could see them, you know. So then, with that being said, while I was able to do that for everyone else, I was the advice giver, I was the best friend. I was not that person for me.
Yeah.
And I found that I was constantly looking to be that person for other people because I couldn't give it to myself. I had really low self-esteem. I had no sense of self. And your sense of self is knowing who you are. Okay, the relationship with me was completely broken. And I didn't know any decisions that I wanted to make. Like even when it came down to a takeaway decision, I would ask my friends, should I get a pizza or should I get a Chinese? Because I needed someone to tell me how to live my life. So again, I was out here being the, you know, mindset coach for everyone before I even went and studied that, but not being it for me.
Yeah.
And then 2 years ago, it was the hardest point of my life. And I was going through a massive, massive period of intense anxiety, but also depression, to the point where I was completely scaled back in my life. I wasn't leaving the house. I wasn't interacting with my friends. And I was struggling a lot, to the point where, like, even leaving the house, I used to think that I was going to get killed. And I used to always worry about the well-being of my partner. It was really, really bad.
Is that like signs of like a OCD, is it? Would that be signs of that?
No. So I was actually listening to the beautiful conversation yourself and Connell had. And I have recognised some traits of that in me since I was a kid, like to the point where I would be doing this certain movement with my hips before I'd sit down, and I'd be like, if I do this another 10 times, then this won't happen. And I lived through that script for years. But I would definitely say that I was struggling with an anxiety disorder, which I've never had diagnosed. But with that, as I went further into my 20s, and I was at this point in my life where everything had hit rock bottom, and I was in people's kitchens every weekend. I was always going out and getting so drunk. And then when I would go out, that was the only time I'd go out, I'd be getting, you know, shit-faced in a bar or whatever. And then that would give me this false sense of confidence.
Yeah.
So again, how I decided that I wanted to become a mindset coach was because I wanted to change my life. And 2 years ago, I had this moment sitting at my table, working from home in my amazing corporate job, which I was smashing. I was like, what are you doing with your life? You are so unhappy. And this is not a way to live. You know, you are just surviving the week, Monday to Friday. And then you're going out and doing it all again, only to come back in and strengthen that shell that you have placed around yourself. So dependent on my boyfriend for happiness, completely disconnected from other people in my life. And I said, I'm going to change. So I made a promise to myself that I was going to stop drinking in January. And this was in December, this all happened. So when January came around, I said, I'm going to stop drinking. And I said, all right, I'm going to take this one step further. I'm going to make these little promises to myself every day, and I'm going to get better. So those promises look like drinking a litre of water, 6K steps.
Yeah. Well, it's one step a day, so.
Absolutely.
Exactly,
getting outside. And all of these little things that people can take for granted were huge deals for me. And every Sunday then I'd sit down and I would reflect on my week, and I'd say, what went well and what can I do differently this week? You know, actually coaching myself without even realising.
And where did you get the idea to do that? Like, did you just think of that yourself, or did you see someone? Because I feel like a lot of people wouldn't realise that you need to sit at the end of the week and reflect and like what you've done. Do you know what I mean? Where people just think, oh, I'll do this today, they don't do it, and then they don't, do you know, where you kind of like had a plan of what you were going to do. Yeah. I feel like that's good, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's actually a really great question, because that actually goes back to the point of how people can answer everything that they need and find that answer within themselves. So for me, I think naturally, you know, I'd picked these things up over the years because I studied psychology and I'm obsessed.
Right,
obsessed with people. I'm obsessed with the mind. I'm obsessed with self-development, although there was no self-development for those 2 years that I was really struggling.
The 1% a day, what you were saying there, like the drinking more water and all, that's a bit, do you know what I mean? That's progress.
Yeah, absolutely. So what ensued then, you know, the confidence started to build. And every day I was practicing gratitude. Okay. And I'll speak a little bit more about the power of that in a while. Yeah. Every day I was practicing gratitude. And I remember sitting at my kitchen table, eating a little bowl of Weetabix, nothing fancy, practicing gratitude. And I started sobbing, crying, because it was the first morning that I did not feel that pain in my chest that I had been living with for so long. That pain of waking up and going, here we fucking go again, another day of this hell, where I just get to one end of the day to the other, into bed, or just eat a load of crap to help me to numb whatever I was going through.
Yeah.
So again, these beautiful little steps that I was taking. A couple of months later, I had a conversation with my dad, and he said, "You'd be a great life coach." I was like, "Dad, that's something I've always wanted to do, but I thought that I had to be 50. The only life coach I knew was Tony Robbins. I was like, I have to be his age in order to
live a good amount of years to be able to teach someone on life."
Yeah.
That's what you probably would think years ago, but definitely not.
No, and I believe that a life coach gives people life advice, but that's not how it is at all. So because I thought that limiting belief made me think that I couldn't go and become a coach at this age. Yeah. So coaching is not about giving advice. That's what a mentor does, or a teacher. Coaching is so beautiful, where it will take you to this place so that you can answer your own questions. So before I get a little bit more into that, I then decided, right, I'm going for it. I'm going to go and study to become a life coach. And I had no idea how it was going to turn out. I had no idea what my future was going to look like. But I knew that for me, helping people has always been in my bones. And I couldn't ignore this calling from my soul. And with that as well, I was noticing all of these beautiful signs from the universe. I kept seeing angel numbers, special angel numbers that really mean that you're on the right path and that you're healing and you're being protected. And I was just receiving all of these mad feelings as well. And that's your intuition. And I said, I have to just follow through with this. I've no idea how it will go, but I'm so glad that I did.
So going back on what you were saying, you'll go back and talk about the affirmations more and reflecting. And so for someone who doesn't understand that, I feel like people look at that and just be like, they see it as weird. Like I think I was saying that at the Embody Live event. And I was kind of thinking like people are going to look at me and think like, oh, she's a weirdo. Like what was she doing? Like that I was listening to like YouTube videos and listening to affirmations and all like, oh, like you're worthy, you're beautiful, and feeding yourself all the good positive thoughts instead of like, say, looking in the mirror and putting yourself down, or like just having bad thoughts about yourself. So what, like for someone who's listening and doesn't get that and does think that's weird, where most people do, what would you say, like how would you describe that and the power of affirmations? And even I actually have this book, and it's just writing down what you're grateful for. And that even makes you feel that bit better, or like list the top 3 things that you achieved today. Do you know? And you wouldn't actually even think of that, and you think your day wasn't productive. Or so what would you, for someone who's listening and thinks that is weird, what would you say the power of affirmations and stuff like that is?
Wow, okay. That is such a great question. So when we think about affirmations, they belong in the family of self-worth, manifestations, etc. So again, to peel it back a little bit, I think people associate affirmations with hippie, with manifestation, with woo-woo. But people don't realise manifestation is a science. It's not a religion. It's not a belief system. It is a science. And it's broken down into a couple of elements, right? And this is what I help my clients with. So manifestation is all about the relationship that you have with yourself. Okay, people think that, oh, if I think this, I will attract it. No. Okay, when it comes to manifestations, right, we have this invisible electromagnetic field around us. And while we can see that with the naked eye, it can be seen under special machines. And they've tested this, 10 billion times, okay? And sure, Einstein used to speak about the power of manifestation as well, because manifestation, it falls under the realms of the laws of the universe. So the law of attraction, etc. So with that, right, we have this electromagnetic field around us. And the electro part stands for the intention. So this is an intention, for example, like I am a successful mindset coach running a storming mindset business, okay?
Yeah.
And then the magnetic part is the part that you need to feel. Okay, so when it comes to manifestations, you set your clear intention. You know, for you, I am the #1 podcaster in Ireland. Okay, and then to draw that to you, to manifest that, you need to feel that. So with that, you'd be sitting down and you would be visualizing yourself, what it would feel like, what it would look like, what it would sound like to be in that position. And then practice gratitude as though it's already happened.
Yes.
So with that, you know, that's the science at a very high level of manifestation. And people get caught up in that and they believe from various different teachings that they've heard that it's woo-woo or it's this. And they may struggle to open their eyes and see what's available to them because maybe they're worried that they might look a bit crazy or whatever thing that they might be going through. So that is all about the science of manifestations. And you were speaking about affirmations, okay?
Yeah.
So affirmation is so powerful. And with that, you know, you are having this beautiful conversation with yourself. Say, for example, you're saying, I am worthy, I am loved, I am beautiful. That's so important because you're not just speaking to your current self. You're speaking to every single version of you who has walked this path. Your inner teen, your inner child.
Yeah.
Maybe your inner child never believed that she was beautiful, or your inner teen got picked on and believed she wasn't worthy. So affirmations go so much further than just standing in the mirror and telling yourself you're beautiful. They are healing on so many levels because by continuously repeating this to yourself, you will allow that message to go into your subconscious mind, and your subconscious mind is what runs the show. It controls 95% of how you think, how you feel, and how you behave.
And everything else, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I done that for like a couple of days straight now. I haven't done it in a while. I'm like, I need to start doing that again. Just even in the car when you're driving. And even like, I noticed like I was feeding myself much more like positive thoughts about myself and I felt better. So like definitely 100% it works like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does, because when you are saying those things and you're practicing that presence to speak beautifully to yourself, you're actually causing some massive changes on a neurological level. So your body will be emitting dopamine, oxytocin, Jesus, not Oxycontin.
I'm just like, well, what's that?
Oh my God, no, we won't go there. Oxytocin. And all of the beautiful chemicals that contribute to a glow. You know, when you are in this place where you love yourself and you know your worth, people will say, oh my God, you're glowing, because of the chemical reactions that are happening in your body that will allow you to feel that way. And if people say, that's a load of shite, well, think about when you're stressed. You will look 10 years older. You look grey because you are producing the stress chemicals, cortisol, and the other chemicals that go along with that too.
Yeah, your hair's probably all over the place. Like you're dressed mad, yeah, definitely. So what, for someone who's listening and is in that place where you were, say, a couple of years ago, what would you say to them? Like what, to help them to say, get out of that and do, like, look how well you're doing now. Like, you know, and that was only 2 years ago. Like it's mad, like the way you speak and the way you present yourself. You wouldn't think that was you a couple of years ago, do you know? So what would you say to someone to help them, or like what advice would you give them?
Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. And the thing is, when we are in that place, we find it impossible to see what is possible. And we can believe that we will remain stuck there. And I certainly felt like that for so long. And I would be looking at people online who had what I wanted or just looked happy. And I'd be so jealous of them because I didn't think that it was possible for me.
Yeah.
So a piece of advice that I would give someone is that it's not about looking 1 or 2 years down the line. It is sometimes about looking that next day ahead, because you might be in that place where I was, where brushing my teeth and getting a shower, it was really hard for me to do that. And even me speaking about that now, I can only speak about that now without feeling ashamed of myself, because it was so hard what I was going through. But even you doing those things like getting outside, drinking your water, getting your shower, that in itself, you are laying foundations for your future happiness. And it's not about going out there and changing the world and building a successful business or whatever that is. It's about healing that relationship with yourself. And that relationship and the healing that comes with that, that isn't found in the things that you produced. You know, I'm not happy or love myself now because I'm running a successful business. Yeah. That came because I love myself.
Yeah.
You know, the relationship you have with yourself is the most important one that you will ever have. But it's the relationship that people often overlook, and they put all of their energy into their friendships, like I was doing, into their partner, like I was doing, and into their job, into everything outside of them. And with that, you know, becoming completely disconnected from who they are, from their soul. So I would say for anyone who's really struggling, stop thinking about this huge future end goal and think about what you can do tomorrow, and really just remind yourself that you deserve to drink that glass of water, to get outside, to make yourself a nice dinner. And magic will ensue as long as you continue to make those promises and keep them.
But even like, see the way you're saying, like I with the drinking your water and all, like just focusing on that, I feel like even with myself, like if I get a good bit of water in the morning or just go to the gym, like little small kind of things, then you end up being more productive for the day, for the rest of the day. Do you know what I mean? Instead of like, yeah, as you said, like focusing on the end goal that is like a year later on. But I feel like you do get more done when you do focus on the little small things, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as well as contributing to your productivity, when you follow through on those promises you're making to yourself, what you're doing is you're building that self-worth.
Yeah.
Okay. And when we're growing up, we can go through various experiences, whether that's in the home or whether that's in friendship groups. Maybe we're getting bullied, or maybe there's a teacher that makes us feel really bad about ourselves. And when we're kids, we don't have that emotional maturity to be able to rationalize that situation. So what we do is we completely internalize that. And so a moment of criticism or a period of bullying, we truly believe that we deserve that. And that was because of the person that we are, and that there's something wrong with us. So then we grow up into adults, and while all of that is in the past, our subconscious doesn't forget any of that. And then we can continue to live out these scripts that we're not worthy of happiness, that we're not worthy of love, that we don't deserve to achieve XYZ, whatever it might be, because we are stuck in the past, telling ourselves these false narratives that are no longer true. And we might not have any single idea that we are playing out these stories in our head. So like the reason behind going and doing that glass of water or going for that walk or putting yourself outside of your comfort zone is you are doing some deep, deep healing to support the younger parts of you who believe that they weren't worthy of that. And so by having that glass of water, I mean, I feel like I talk about glasses of water all the time, but that was so pivotal for me. Like that was so important for me. And that's just as important as, you know, me, you know, sitting here today. And I truly believe that. Because
sorry. Yeah, well, I do be the same. Like in the first thing in the morning, I'm like, I need to get a load of water in now, because then for the rest of the day, I probably won't get it in. That's what I'd be focusing on, a little something so stupid. Yeah. But I feel like that is important.
Mm-hmm.
So with the mindset coaching then, so if someone was to come to you to get like help or get coaching, what would be the services that you'd provide, or what way would you help them?
Yeah, so mindset coaching, people don't really have a strong grasp of what it is. And I was the exact same as well when I signed up to become a life coach. I believed that it was my responsibility to learn all the things and become the best version of me and then teach people how to do that. But that's completely wrong. Coaching is so beautiful in terms of its difference between teaching, mentoring, etc. And while all of them have a beautiful importance in this world, coaching gives you that place to answer your own question, right? So say, for example, someone came to me, and I've really noticed with all of the women and men that I've worked with, threads that exist between everyone. So like people could have really low self-belief. They're not confident in themselves. They don't believe that they're worthy of happiness, of love. They are suffering a lot with their anxiety, or maybe they have a goal that they want to work towards, like launching a business or scaling their business, but they have these mindset blocks getting in the way as to what they're worth, right?
Yeah.
So how I'd help them is we go through a beautiful process to really understand what the underlying belief is.
That's stopping them from
Yeah.
getting there, yeah.
Yeah. And so, this will take us down an absolute rabbit hole down your brain to really understand where that's coming from, because we might be able to say I'm 27 now and I might have this belief about myself that I'm not worthy of happiness or whatever that might be. My 27-year-old self might know, like, I know that I am, but the younger parts of me, which are lodged in my subconscious, are the ones running the show, because they didn't have their needs met when they were younger. And because I didn't get to develop myself emotionally in that age through that experience, then that's where I'm remaining stuck. So we get to really understand what the underlying beliefs are that are holding people back, because our beliefs are responsible for everything. And our beliefs are what drive our behaviour. So with that, we might want to conquer XYZ, but we have this unhelpful belief system about ourselves, and that will hold us back. We'll keep ourselves small. We'll say no to opportunities. So I help people to really understand what those beliefs are and what experience or experiences are attached to that. And then we go back and we heal those experiences. And this is where the inner child healing comes in as well. So that when we do that beautiful pairing between inner child work and subconscious belief system reprogramming, then they show up differently. It's that energetic shift and life looks completely different. I have seen my girls and men go from places of darkness and insecurity and shame and flowering into these beautiful, empowered, confident people. And it is the most rewarding thing that I've ever done with my life.
Yeah. And so when you're saying you're doing the kind of work to, what did you say, the inner child, like, what would that be? So what way would you do that?
So inner child healing is a very delicate process, and it's something that we don't rush into.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we would do is we get to really understand what's happening in their present day. Okay, what behaviours might be holding them back. So for example, I'm going to share with you an insight into my inner child and how it held me back to make this sound a little bit more easy to understand. So within my relationship with my amazing partner, AJ, I was really struggling with a wounded inner child. And I wasn't aware of this at the time. But what was happening was I was very controlling of him in terms of, like, say if we were going out, I'd be worried that, like, he might get, like, drunk or whatever. And then I'd be saying to him, oh, like, watch what you're drinking and stuff like that. Again, like, trying to control his behaviour in order to ensure that I didn't get anxious or activated by how he was showing up, okay?
Yeah.
And then little things, like, say, for example, if he was 20 minutes late for something, that would send me into absolute overdrive. So 26-year-old Sorcha at the time knew that that isn't okay, and knew that, I shouldn't be reacting the way I was for his lateness or whatever it might be. But what was happening was it was my inner child that was screaming, and she was running the show, because I had in a couple of experiences that, made me feel as though, being in alcohol situations were unsafe, or that I had to, make sure that this person was behaving in a certain way in order for me to be safe. Or that if AJ was late for something, then that meant that I wasn't worthy of him being on time for, because my inner child felt so hurt. And I was completely projecting that onto him, because in our romantic relationships, this is where we repeat childhood dynamics, and this is where our inner child will come to the surface. And mine needed a lot of work. So I went and done a lot of healing there. I've been in therapy for years, and although I'm a mindset coach now, I still go to therapy.
Yeah,
and
I think everyone should.
Oh, 100%.
Everyone has work that they need to be done on. Like,
yeah.
I feel like people think therapy or counselling is looked as if, like, you're absolutely, like, fucked up, like, when it's not. I feel like everyone needs therapy. There's something that they could work on, definitely.
Yeah. Because a therapist or a coach will help you to go deeper into your psyche,
things
into
that you
your
don't
soul.
even realise that you even need help with, like.
Yeah. And it's constant, like, light bulb moments, like, oh, wow. And, going inwards and having that introspection and that self-discovery, it helps you to make sense of your world. So going back to how I help my clients heal their inner child, we get to understand how they're showing up in their current day. Okay. And, I'll be able to help them link experiences from when they were younger that may have contributed to the unhelpful beliefs or the unhelpful behaviors and feelings that they're continuing to face today.
Yeah.
And so we will go into this beautiful trance where we meet that inner child, and we will have a conversation with that inner child whereby we will be able to meet his or her needs, because we have this core need when we're children and as adults for safety. And when we're kids and we don't feel safe, that is traumatizing for a child. And people don't realize that trauma doesn't have to be down to sexual abuse or war, etc. Trauma happens when our needs aren't met and when we don't feel safe. And so people will often then say, oh, I had a really good childhood and I was fine, nothing bad happened to me. And with that, then they're not giving themselves the opportunity to realize that healing can happen and how they can set themselves free from those experiences that they weren't able to navigate through when they were younger. So we get to meet the beautiful client's inner child, and we will meet her needs. And the conversations they have is so beautiful and powerful. And oh my God, it's revelationary.
Sorry to interrupt you. What do you mean by meeting them? So what would you do to get them to meet their needs then? Say, for example.
Yeah. So we will go into this meditative state where we will go into this room in your subconscious mind. And how we do that, so I will do like a beautiful body scan and working with people's life force energy. And we will...
Would this be like Reiki,
So... No, like, all of that has like intertwines and, energy is everything. And so I think energy and energy work can be applied with any practice. And it's really present in mine because like I do work with energy as well. So we go into this place in their subconscious mind, and we will bring them into this beautiful place where they are safe, okay? And maybe they go into this separate room where they will go back, and that people will tell me that they're standing in their sitting room or they're in their old bedroom, and they can see all of these old things that they haven't thought about in 20 odd years. And then they will go over to the inner child and meet her, and the inner child will be able to tell her or him what she's struggling with and tell them like what they need in that moment, why they've called them here today. And then the adult, who is the client, will then tell them, I am protecting you, I'm in control now, and that all you have to do is play. So that's absolutely whizzing through what happens. But with that, then you will see that the inner child, she might go asleep, or she might just rest on you, or she might just go off playing. And then that means that memory in the subconscious that was continuing to show up and be painful today has been replaced with this new beautiful memory where the current adult has gone in and met that child's needs, because our subconscious only has the capacity to store one memory of a memory. And so once that old traumatic one is gone, the new one is lodged. And then because our subconscious controls 95% of our life, then that shows up in our present. So it's just this beautiful, beautiful experience and journey that people go through to then show up differently in their life and set themselves free from their past.
Yeah, that's mad. You never think like that all happens. And would you say that's, because I know with mentoring, that's a completely different thing. Like they all kind of do different things. If say, for someone who is looking for, say, a life coach, would they be all similar kind of? No?
No, not at all.
And would they all have, like, with the qualifications then, like, what, if someone's looking to find one, like, how do they know who's good and who isn't? Like, you've done a psychology degree, so you obviously know what way the mind works as well. So that's good. Where, like, can anyone just be a life coach?
Yeah, so again, I know yourself and Connell were talking about this in terms of psychotherapists. This is mad. So people don't actually need to have a qualification in order to be a coach. Now, I do have one, but anyone can say that they're a coach. It's not legislated the way like doctors, etc. are.
Yeah.
So when it comes to you finding your person, you have to get super clear on what it is that you want to achieve. And maybe you're at that place where you have no idea what you want. You just know that you want to get better. I would say follow your intuition and really like lean into the energy that person carries.
Yeah.
Are they going to make you feel safe? Are they going to make you feel better about yourself? Like, say if you're just going through their Instagram, what does your gut tell you? Do they make you feel comfortable? Stuff like that, you know, because
would you be comfortable sharing all of that? Because that's a lot. What
Yeah.
you're saying, like that a client would need to be kind of telling you, like.
Yeah.
So exactly, like, what would you feel comfortable sharing with them?
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, you know, I'm sure for anyone's listening, might be like, "Ooh, that seems impossible to share." It's a very gentle process, and we do not start and jump straight into that. We start very small. So I would work with people on a 3-month basis. Now, I've even seen from the work I've done that that's not enough, and I will be moving into longer programs. But we're starting very small, and we're starting at the beginning, you know. So we're not jumping all into all of this heavy thing that may like evoke a lot of emotion. It starts at this very beautiful process to understand, what do you value? Okay, how are you currently living by your values? And the thing is that people often don't even realize that they have a set of values, and whether they are either living in alignment with them or not. So like for me, I have values of like connection, kindness, empathy, happiness, stuff like that. And obviously, like, you know, my job as well is a strong value of mine. But some people might be stuck in this place where they're living by a set of values that they've learned from their parents. So like, you know, they might have this value from their parents that, oh, money is everything, and that you have to like really push yourself in order to be successful. And like, to be successful, what a child interprets that as is to be loved and accepted. So like, they might grow up then as an adult and be absolutely killing themselves in a job that they're really, really unhappy in. But they believe if they leave that job, or if they go and do what they really want to do, which might be become a yoga teacher in Bali, that they will be shunned from their family, that they'll be, you know, shame put on them, or that they won't be accepted. So like, again, that's why it's so important for people to really start to understand, what is it that I value? How do I live per these values, or what work needs to be done?
Yeah. So going back to yourself then, so what do you do? What does your week look like, or your day look like, to help yourself mentally and be there for yourself? So what would you do? I seen you brought your book. Do you write your goals or your affirmations and stuff, mantras and all? You obviously do all that?
Yeah, so a typical day for me, it's very different these days than it was a couple of months ago. So
I feel like you're probably always improving and adding things on that you see like that might be good or might help you.
yeah, and that's the thing, you know, you can have a set of things that have worked for you for a certain time, and now you might be breaking free from them and moving into a new space. But it's always about looking back and, you know, showing thanks and gratitude for that set of, you know, that routine or whatever it was that served you at that time, rather than, you know, being ashamed for it. So the reason why I'm saying that is because like, people can say, for example, in the past, they might have had this routine where they were like training twice a day, or they were overexerting themselves, or they were working mad hours, which I used to be. And then when they move into a new paradigm, then they might look back and be like, oh, why did I do that? But it's like, no, you need to practice like compassion and acceptance and gratitude for that previous version of you that got you to where you are today. So what I would do, very different nowadays, because I've definitely taken a step back in order to look after myself and protect my energy. So I would wake up and I get to go to my beautiful cabin out the back garden, and I would journal a page, and then I would sit there and meditate and do some visualizations, or I might just have a cup of tea and just sit there and think. Like, I used to be afraid of thinking. I was always keeping myself busy and going on my phone, whereas now, like, I can just sit there and just think about things for ages, and it doesn't bother me.
And I feel like, sorry, a lot of people do that. They can't sit with their thoughts, or like they just want to keep themselves busy 24/7 because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I'd love to share something on that, and I can go back to the routine then. But like, the reason why we do that and we constantly distract ourselves is because it's likely that your nervous system is dysregulated. And I was like that for years. You know, I was in this place where when I sat down, all I could feel was my heart pounding. When I was going to bed, I'd be struggling to sleep. My digestion was really interrupted, and my mind was absolutely spiraling. So it was impossible for me to sit down and be present with my thoughts. I found that I was always getting up and cleaning. I always had to distract myself. I always had to spend time with someone because I couldn't be on my own. Because one, the relationship with myself was in the bin. And two, I was highly dysregulated. So if you are listening to this and you are really resonating with the fact that, oh my God, I can't sit with my thoughts, I need to constantly distract myself. Just know that you are going to continue to perpetuate that fear of being present with your thoughts the more that you run away from it. And while it can be very overwhelming at the start to get used to your thoughts and to get used to just sitting in presence and being on your own, that's what's required to allow you to move away from this place of dysregulation of a nervous system point of view into a place of safety and connectedness. And that's where we have a regulated nervous system, where we can actually be present and have conversations, where we can enjoy what we're doing, where we can savor our food, where we can sleep through the night. It's all of these things that people can take for granted, but that's
routine.
Yeah.
Is that what you were thinking? I'm like, where am I? What am I saying?
Going back to the routine. So again, I do a couple of practices in the morning, but don't get me wrong, some mornings I don't. I might just go for a walk. But it's just these little things. Like I'll have a conversation with myself through journaling, because I believe journaling is a conversation between your head and your heart, which I adore. And then I'll go on my walk, because if you go on a walk for 20 minutes a day outside in nature without going on your phone, that's really powerful to reduce hypervigilance, which is where you feel like really on edge all the time. And then I start my work day. So for Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursdays, I'm like back to back with clients. And then on Mondays, it's just more like coursework development or various admin bits. And then on Fridays, I do check-ins with everyone. So, you know, the way you do a check-in with a PT, I have like a form of everything from their goals to their mindset to their self-belief, everything that's operating within the program. And then they check in with me on that. And then I give them the ultimate hype-up response.
And so what times would you get up in the morning to get all that in then?
So, because it's winter.
Early riser?
Yeah. I used to not be though, but you can change anything as long as you believe that you can be an early riser. So I used to get up a little bit earlier than I do now, because it's winter and I'm honouring my body. I don't like hate myself for getting up a little bit later. I would typically get up between 7 and 7:30 every day. Yeah. And then I'll always be on my laptop for about 12. And then that's works really well for me, because then I'll work till like 8 or 9. And that's what works really well for me, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's different. Like there's no this perfect routine that everyone does be looking at, someone on Instagram or whatever.
No.
That they're working from like 4 o'clock in the morning till, do you know what I mean? Like I feel like everyone's different. Like so, and then going back to the coaching. So, what way does that work? Is that like what did you say? It's a monthly thing, or like what? How long does it go on for? Mm-hmm. Like if someone was to look and start with you?
Yeah, so in the current program that I'm offering, the outline is 12 one-to-one coaching sessions. So this is where the magic happens, and this is where we really dive deep into their mind, their current experiences, their past, etc. And then we also do check-ins on Fridays. We have group calls on Mondays, and then we're just staying in touch throughout the week as well. So it's just this constant interaction between myself and the client. And honestly, I don't really call them my clients. I call them all my friends. Like everyone I've worked with, we've become so close to the point where like I have people who I meet up with loads, and we have literally became friends for life.
And that's good, like, because, you know, you want to be kind of on that level if you're sharing so much information with someone as well. They probably feel like they can trust you more.
Yeah, and just one thing to add that I didn't share earlier when you were talking about the variety of coaches and who to go for. So, like, coaching is actually meant to be just future focused. But I have a therapeutic approach to mine because I spend time in the past. Because I truly believe that how can you truly move forward and create magic in your present and your future if you are chained to narratives from the past that you might not even be aware of? And this is where like people can have autoimmune diseases, or this is where people can have chronic pain, because all of that trauma has been stored there. That trauma is just pent up energy. And this is why like people can be in roles, for example, where they're overexerting themselves, or they're people pleasing, or they struggle to say no, or they're absolutely burning themselves out because they don't believe that they deserve to have boundaries. And, you know, they don't really understand why, but it's about going into this deep, deep self-discovery journey to understand, well, this is where you decided that for you to set a boundary meant that you may no longer be loved and accepted, and that's why you no longer carry them out now.
Yeah, so if anyone is looking out to start coaching with you, where can they find you?
So I operate majority from Instagram. You can find me over at Seed Mindset Coaching. I am not taking on any clients until the new year. So I am...
You're probably really busy now, are you?
Yeah, I'm fully booked at the moment, so I don't have any capacity.
Good complaint.
Jesus, I'm delighted. But yeah, so I'm actually moving into a different space. So I don't know when the next time is that I'll be taking on clients, but I'm moving into a more accessible group coaching style membership whereby people can work with a mindset coach in a very affordable, accessible way rather than jumping straight into that one-to-one should they not be ready for it.
Yeah. And I actually forgot to ask you something before.
Yeah.
That's normally the last question that I ask everyone. But so what's your goals then for the future? So would you hire ever someone to do it? To work for you to do this? Or...
Yeah, so for me, honestly, it's about just continuing to be happy in my business because like for a while I was not happy. I was so stressed, so burnt out, and I was like, why have I just created the same corporate structure that I walked away from in my business? So a big goal for me is continuing to be happy and to operate my business my way from my soul. And then in terms of course, some structural plans. So I will be launching a challenge in the new year, which is to help people really get clear on the signs of manifestation and the importance of healing their relationship with themselves so that they can make 2024 their best year. Yeah.
Unreal.
Yes.
And that's just on Instagram, is it?
Yeah, so that will be on Instagram, and then that will naturally be moving into a monthly membership.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about this. It's a beautiful new concept that I've honestly been thinking about for so long, and now I'm ready to take action and make it happen.
And what way did you say you're going to be doing it on Instagram? Is this going to be like lives or like through Zoom? Would it be on? Like what way will you be doing it on Instagram?
Yeah, so how the challenge is going to work, what we're going to be doing every day is you're going to receive a podcast from me. And this podcast will be based off of the book, The Magic by Rhonda Byrne, where I'll be coaching you through the chapter, but I'll also be sharing my own strategies, my own stories, personal experiences. So it's that beautiful blend between, coaching you through a book, but coaching you through things in general as well.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have a weekly masterclass. So this is all about what I was speaking about throughout this podcast, the relationship with yourself, getting crystal clear on your intention, where you want to go, and doing that in alignment with your values, the subconscious belief system. So getting crystal clear on what you believe about yourself and making sure that your beliefs are in alignment with the life that you want to create for yourself. And you're working to get rid of them toxic, unhelpful beliefs that you may have learned in the past. Then, of course, creating that presence in the body, that nervous system regulation, because when it comes to manifestations, we are operating on this frequency naturally of between 70 and 80 hertz, right? And then when we are in this state of like chronic stress or survival mode, we are shrinking that electromagnetic field around us, making it really, really small. But when we're in heart elevated emotions like joy, compassion, gratitude, acceptance, creativity, imagination, that is completely expanding. And the greater your magnetic field is, the more you will attract abundance in alignment with your frequency.
Yeah.
So it's this beautiful combination between crystal clear intentions, your belief system, and the nervous system regulation. So all of them masterclasses will tie together alongside the podcasts, the daily activities, and the community that we'll build as well. So I know for sure that people will make friends for life and honestly get crystal clear on how they can become magnets for their manifestations and make 2024 their best one ever.
Yeah, and that's what you said. I'd say a lot, anyone who's going to be listening to this are probably going to be like, I wonder what our prices are. So you said, obviously, you probably don't want to share them on here, but you did say affordable, where a lot of people do think coaching or mentorship or anything like that is some like thousands upon thousands. So as you said, it's affordable. If anyone does want to text you, probably that they can afford it. So that's good. And yeah, so where did you say again, just to tell everyone your Instagram?
Yeah, you can find me over at Seed Mindset Coaching, and all of the challenges being developed in the background now. So I'll be putting that out on socials very soon, probably by the time that this is been released, but I'm very excited. It's going to be absolutely incredible. I ran a free version of that at the start of this year. I came home one day and I was like, I'm going to do this challenge. And I didn't give myself any time to even think about it. I just put it out on my Instagram and I thought like 20 people would sign up. And within 4 days, like over 260 people had signed up.
Oh my God.
I know. But this just goes to show how like when you have an idea for something, you have to just do it. You can't allow
you
yourself.
start thinking about it and putting this thought behind it that like,
Yeah.
this is not going to work. Then you don't end up doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know the way they say the longer you sit on a wall, the less likely you are to jump off it. I had this thought and I said, right, I'm jumping off the wall, and I put it out there. And like as Stephen Bartlett always says, that's skin in the game. I had it up on my Instagram then, so people had to, well, they didn't have to reach out to me, but I had to respond to the people who had contacted me
And
about
then they were
it.
probably like, when are you going to do this? And you were like, right, okay, I have to set a date.
Oh, so I literally worked for like 18 hours straight developing this program and this like 30-page workbook for it, so people could get crystal clear on like their habits and everything. And this was all free. I just said I want to do this, and I had no idea the uptake that was going to happen from it. But it just goes to show like sometimes things will work out so much greater than you ever thought. And I've met beautiful people in that who I call very good friends. I'm working with girls now on a one-to-one basis from that. And now I'm actually moving into this space where I'm taking that free version, I'm making it so much better. I'm bringing it to the world now in an extremely affordable way so that people can create magic in their life. And I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, unreal. I feel like you've spoke to me for half of this, like things that you mentioned. I'm like, oh, that's me. Go on. Thanks so much for coming on, Sorcha. That was unreal. You do really present yourself, and the way you like explain yourself with things, it's unreal. You wouldn't think that you were at that level at all, like, or at that stage a couple of years ago. You're doing unreal.
Thank you so much. And you know, for you to say that, it means so much. And for anyone who might be listening feeling that, oh my God, that's never going to be me. I thought that was never going to be me either. But magic happens when you heal the relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And if anyone thinks that manifestation is still a load of pons and wants, I wrote in my diary on the 26th of July, never met Demi before in my life. I just seen her podcast online. And I said, I am grateful for getting the opportunity to share my message on the Unlocked Potential podcast with Demi. And here we are. I had no idea how it was going to happen, but I sat there and I practiced gratitude so much for sitting in this chair today and visualizing me having this beautiful conversation with you. And that is the power of manifestation. I set my intention, I believed I could, and I made it happen. So thank you so much for helping me to make this come true too.
You're so sweet. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. If you're looking to reach out, make sure to give us a follow on Instagram at Demi's Nails and Beauty or at Unlocked Potential Podcast. See you next time.